We're live.
Good call. Okay, this meeting will now come to order. Welcome to the July 10th meeting of the City of Asheville Noise Advisory Board. My name is Jessica Thomason. I am the chair of this board. I will introduce each agenda item and facilitate the meeting to help our audience follow along. All committee members and staff are participating virtually today. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the Noise Advisory Board page. For those of you out there with us today, welcome. I will now go through and introduce all the board members who are participating virtually. Please make sure to mute your microphones if you are not speaking, and when you have a question or would like to speak, please unmute yourself. We'll see how that goes because, you know, there's always one. All right, board members, as I call your name, please acknowledge your presence. Rick Freeman.
Here.
Reb Hazlett.
Here.
Liliana Woody. Carmelo Papalonio.
Here.
Jeff Santiago.
Here.
Dave Ledger.
Here.
Also participating with us today are several couple staff members. Mark Matheny.
Here. Good afternoon all.
All right. Ashley Stanley.
Hello.
And missing today is our council liaison, Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley. Okay. Thanks for being here, everyone. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting?
I'll set a motion to approve.
Thank you. Jeff sets a motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second. I'll second.
Rick. Okay. Rick seconds. Okay. We will now take a vote on that. Reb, do you vote to approve the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you. Carmelo?
Sounds good.
And Dave?
Yes.
Thank you. Approved are the last meeting minutes. We'll move on to the next piece of business on the agenda, which is the noise administrator check-in staff report. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the staff report? And are there any questions or comments? No questions or comments? Okay, great. We're going to move on then to old business. First order of business is to give a report to the board on the presentation to the Environment and Safety Committee. So last week or week before, Rick and I went and presented to Safety Environment Committee, which consists of council members, city manager, assistant city manager, city attorney, some of the recommendations we put forward in our annual report, which we'll go on and we'll talk further about in new business. And the whole point of that was for us to ask for support on these initiatives that we wanted to move forward. And the good news is that we got the go ahead, or we basically got the approval for moving forward and support through the city on each one of these items, which was the vehicular noise, waste hauler concerns, and the citizen survey. So what it seems like is going to happen is that there's initiatives that are already happening in each of these aspects that we're going to be able to be a part of. So it almost, and Rick can chime in on this too. It seems like it's a win-win for both the Noise Advisory Board and city staff, because it's not creating something new in any of these situations. It seems like there's already initiatives that are happening that we get to be a part of. So, which seems even more likely that these things are going to move forward. Do you want to add anything, Rick?
Yeah, I could probably clarify a couple things. Probably in reverse order of the way we presented them. There's clearly some effort within the city's communication department to be reaching out to citizens on a variety of topics. And so we can dovetail with that to work in our survey questions about how the public feels about the noise ordinance, since it's coming up on 2 years of being in progress. So Jessica is going to work with Dawa Hitch, who's the communications leader, and we'll just have to sort of figure out where we dovetail into what they're doing. When it comes to waste hauler, the city staff that's responsible for sanitation and that sort of thing, they had got funded for solid waste master plan. So they're firing up to really revisit how they're handling solid waste. And Jess Foster is the city staff person that's most directly involved with that. She attended the meeting as well. And when we talked about the 5 a.m. dumpster banging that is, driving the downtown residents a little insane, she spoke up and said, we're fairly backward compared to the rest of the world on how we organize and plan solid waste pickup in an urban setting. So it was good support that made that pretty easy to get a recommendation from the staff members. And our next step is to have a meeting with her. I have an email in her inbox. Hopefully I'll hear something back from her in a day or two. So we'll have to sort of fit into the order that they're going to do that work, or maybe if we're optimistic, influence the order a little bit so that we can start to get some citizens engaged, which I think will be the big short-term win. This isn't going to get done in a month, and they're going to start picking up trash at noon. But as long as some of the downtown citizens who volunteered to be part of this can participate and see what the plan is and when they're going to be meetings and get to speak their piece and have support, then that'll go okay. And then as it relates to vehicle noise, I think the thing that made it easy for us was the intended extension of the 60-day plan that the city has just done to clean up stuff downtown. It sounds like there's going to continue to be the same level of patrols downtown. So I think that gives us an easier conversation with APD when the time comes to that, on how we'd orchestrate some actions with them so that this would become a deterrent. We did get some feedback, I'd say, from one of the committee members who was big on signs and small on arrests. Didn't really want us to divert a lot of police staff from other crimes. But I think once we got done explaining that we're just trying to, inform the public and the violators that the city's going to take this seriously occasionally, then we can get, plan support at known times when this stuff happens the worst, and work with the patrols that are down there to sort of facilitate whatever we're going to do in terms of signage and other things like that, once the team does the rest of their due diligence about other cities that have had success on this. So all those things made it pretty easy for the committee to go ahead, get done.
Any questions from the board? Reb?
No questions, but congratulations on moving our agenda along. That's great work.
Thank you. It really did feel like a win for everybody, right? I feel like city manager's office and city staff felt like that we brought some very reasonable asks to the table that weren't going over and above their resources. And we also made it very clear that we understood where priorities are in the city when it comes to safety and with what's been going on, especially with the 60-day plan. So it seemed like everybody felt good about the way that things came out. So yeah, so thanks. Any other questions, comments from the board? No? All right. Moving on to decibel level working group.
So here's where we are. We'd sort of paused the work to a certain degree while we were waiting to see what kind of support we'd get, because if we kind of felt like we couldn't get any support for the things we asked for, we might be barking up a tougher place with this. We have approximately 10 people who have agreed to sign up for coming out to their place and performing the measurements. They span like 3 or 4 total noise sources. Some people I've taken off the list. So for example, one person who the documentation said they had decibel level readings taken. Their problem was with trucks jake braking on the freeway, which is not a decibel event. It's a pure, you know, it's almost more in line with the loud vehicle stuff. So they're aware that we're in the planning stage and that we need to get a measurement protocol in place for the stuff that isn't already covered in the existing ordinance. As you all know, the only thing that's covered in the existing ordinance are dBA measurements outside the complainant's property. And what we've communicated to the 10 people who signed up is that we're going to do dBA measurements when the sound source is not present, so we can get an ambient level measurement. So we kind of know what the background noise is so that we can compare whatever we get. And that we'll then be doing some form of DBC measurements inside and outside and all that sort of stuff. And since that's not dictated by the ordinance, Reb is helping out, trying to pull together a protocol for where we go, how we do it, how we'd use the meters, what that would all be. And we can't really proceed to make any plans and to schedule time for either the ambient or the sound source present until we've got a document that we all agree is a fair way to take some measurements and get off the ground. So Reb and I chatted last weekend, I think it was, about that. He's been doing research on this, looking up things, seeing what other cities are doing. And without having actually put him on the agenda, I'd ask him now if he wants to share where he is and what help he needs from the other people who had raised their hands to be part of this.
Yeah, I can tell you where I am. I have been doing research and trying to develop a protocol that matches each of the sort of venue types, the noise types, be that outdoor concert, inside to inside, or public entertainment. I think those are the 3 basic categories, and each of them present different measurement protocols, particularly when you introduce DBC. And I thought I was getting along pretty well understanding how to measure DBC. And I ran into Daniel Orpesa, and who was going to help me review the methodology. And he pointed out that DBC should only be measured inside, which I had not run into before. So I'm doing a little bit extra research there to see what the accuracy of that is. I'm expecting some articles from him that explain what his source of information is. I've also got a meeting with Daniel on Wednesday to train on the 2 sound pressure level devices so that we can understand how they work and get the specifications on those. I've already got the specifications because they have peculiar measurement specs per source of sound. So anyway, moving along, I know it's timely, Rick. I realize we're in full swing in concert season, so we want to get this done before the concerts wind up this year. And I thought I'd have something to you last week, but I think it'll probably be another week or so after I meet with Daniel on Wednesday to review that.
Okay. Any questions for Reb before I make any more comments on this? So I'm going to, assuming that Reb gets to a place where he's comfortable, that he sees the path forward and has something documented, I'm going to ask him to distribute that information to the other folks who would raise their hands to be part of this working group, which is Daniel and Carmelo. And I would ask you for review and agreement on that so that we don't have to wait another month for another noise advisory board meeting before we could actually go out and test. And if the testing, yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that. I'm sure any one of the complainants would be more than happy to let us run some unofficial tests just to prove the protocol. If that testing turns out to be useful, then, you know, we'd want to ramp up and get going on setting dates and times, of course, in concert with the compliance team, right? Because I'm sure it's been my impression from Todd, who's on vacation and won't be back until the 20th, that they'll want to be engaged and be participating in the use of the equipment, such that if we find that to be potential change to the ordinance and how we're going to do all this, then they're already up to speed and they've seen what we've done and we don't have to undo it or revisit it or all that sort of thing. So I feel pressure from a timing standpoint. At least none of the complainants are yelling at me anymore via email that we haven't already come out, or they don't yell at me every time any one of the music venues fires up and says I should be out there right now. Part of that is because I explained to them that everybody on the noise advisory board is actually a volunteer and we're not paid to do this. I think there was some confusion in the public of the boundary between staff and noise advisory board people. So I just ask that you guys be as quick to review anything he puts in writing, and if we need to schedule any special meetings or anything, let's get that off the ground before we do lose the season, because this could go away quick. Any thoughts? Any questions?
And just so I'm clear, so when the measurements get taken, there will be Todd or some city staff person will be a part of that as well, or no?
That's my understanding. You know,
Okay.
when we started this, I asked Todd if he could support this without us taking it all the way through the committee and all that sort of stuff. And it's my impression that as long as we can work within their schedules, that he or Daniel or another member of the compliance team would be engaged.
Okay. Gotcha. Mark, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Just if I can put some input on there, I appreciate the direction and the connection that you guys are making here. Just to clarify that, yeah, we absolutely would like to participate and be engaged with that. We're really leaning on Todd to take the lead for this, and he does have a vacation we've got to fit into there. And then also we'll understand there's probably a little bit of logistical work that has to happen once Todd comes back. He's got a focus on this and where he can go. But we definitely want to participate and be part of this, and we're going to let Todd take that lead, and also, you know, kind of work through those logistical pieces on a city staff side of things.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions or comments for the decibel level working group? No? Okay, moving on to commercial industrial adjacent properties. Reb, this is also you. Do you have anything to?
Yeah, I don't really have a report on that. I think Liliana Woody is working with me on that. And we have not advanced the subject. We're waiting a little bit, I think, on looking at some of the data that comes out of this measurement study to see what some of the noise levels are. And understand what some of the overlap, what the data shows about noise overlap.
Okay, great. Yeah, seems like it's sort of a next, 2.0 focus, right? So, okay, thanks. Any questions or comments on that before we move on to new business? Okay, vehicular noise. Reb, is that you again?
Yep, I'll speak to that. We were on pause waiting for council approval of the initiative to undertake what measures we might to look at what other cities doing and propose measures to control vehicular noise, particularly in the downtown area. Just as an anecdote, I was downtown last weekend, I think. I was really sort of taken aback by the revving that was taking place in the sort of the downtown core, number of vehicles circling downtown. And I think the good news is that with the extension of the 60-day program, there will be officers present. So we just need to start considering some potential modifications to the ordinance that introduce subjectivity, that is, an officer's ability to issue a citation or a warning or just a caution, really, to operators of vehicles. That's not something that the noise compliance officers can do. That's a matter for APD. So I think the city council's interest combined with APD's extension in downtown means we might be able to get something done. And I think it should be done in concert with proposals for education. Greenville in particular has done a lot of education with their community and done some signage that advises people that they are I guess they call themselves a noise-less community. And so we'll probably do some case studies of communities who've had some success in controlling vehicular noise. But that's really the next move. We were waiting on council.
And I'll tell you from the Environment and Safety Committee meeting that we presented at, there was a lot of interest over that education piece of doing the signage. Is there anything, do you want to do some research into when it's most problematic, days of the week, times of the week wise, or is that not something that you see as necessary?
I haven't really thought about that. I don't know that I've heard either anecdotally or with evidence that there are particular times, but if there's a way to figure that out, maybe we look into it. I don't know if that would show up in the monthly data generated. I don't think so.
One of the things that I could do that may be of help is that I'm in a group online of merchants of downtown Asheville. And I know that it's been an issue for downtown business owners. So if you'd like, I can inquire as to when the businesses downtown have seen when, if there's some sort of any patterns or anything like that as to when it happens more times than not, if that's helpful.
I wonder if you could generate a simple survey that could be distributed to the Downtown Business Association to members. That might be an effective way of doing that.
Yeah, that definitely. That wouldn't be too hard. Rick, you got your hand raised?
Yeah. I wonder if any of the downtown business people are bothered enough by this to actually want to participate in it in some way. We have at least one very eager resident who is driven insane by this stuff, but boy, it would be more compelling, especially if we're going to need ordinance changes. Mm-hmm. It'd be more compelling if we had a business person who would, at least loosely be part of Reb's team as it got down to that point. It's just that really hits home with city council members, and we'll be at city council if we have to go all the way through ordinance changes, of course.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. So maybe we can get some diversity of voices on the working group team. And so, yeah, maybe that could be a survey question, and happy to pose it to the MOTA group online just to see if anybody wants to be a part of it. Because I've definitely seen people voicing frustrations in that group of the vehicle noise downtown.
I was shocked, really. It was loud.
It is. As somebody who's downtown every day, it's really kind of It's loud. I was thinking about that too, just about just the increase of, there's so much construction around here that, you know, realizing I was getting agitated because, and I can block, I'm used to blocking things out, but just hearing this same, like some big metal slamming around here from the hotel that's going in at the end of the street, just what it did to my, like, you know, being agitated without even realizing it after listening to it over and over and over again. It was just, yeah, definitely. It's getting louder.
It could affect your health, you know.
I know. Well, that's to your point, right? And I was going to say that. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I'll follow up with you about that, Reb.
Okay.
And help me to make those, connect some dots for the Downtown Association and the Moda Group. So for that. Any other questions or comments on vehicular noise before we move on to the waste hauler concerns? No? All right, Rick, take it away.
So I kind of tipped my hand in just helping Jess out on the report. So our next step is we get with Jess Foster, who is the recipient of this money to do the master plan, and we'll try to move along with her until she's ready to actually invite the public in to start to give feedback. And when that happens, assuming that that's constructive and it's all working well, and the people who've committed to us, the NAB, that they will sign up and be part of this all the way through its life cycle. As soon as that is actually working, we're essentially done from a noise advisory board standpoint, right? Because it's not decibel measurements, it's not any of that kind of stuff. That will take its path of either putting in a new waste management system that, you know, means so that these trucks don't have to cruise around at 5 o'clock in the morning, or it won't. But we won't need to track it because we'll have handed it off to the downtown residents neighborhood association and a CAN board member or two who are involved. So, you know, I'm sure we'll get feedback along the way. If anything goes off the rails, you know, that's just how it works if you get something started. But I think I'm hopeful it'll all move in the right direction, and we can kind of get out of that business, and then complaints will stop if they haven't stopped already, since there's nothing anybody could do about it now. So it shouldn't take up much more of our time once we get to that stage. That's kind of the plan. But I think that's a good handoff when it comes through as a noise complaint, and we look at it logistically and logically, and we move it in the right direction with city staff, then we can stop looking over their shoulders. Any questions? Okay, I would, unless something comes up, we probably won't even put it back on the agenda for a while. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rick. And then the last piece of new business is the citizen survey. So refresher, one of our points that we wanted to look at with the from the annual report is to be able to do a survey now that in September of this year, we'll be at 2 years that the new noise ordinance has been in place, wanting to gauge from this a wider, broader range of citizens' perspective of how the noise ordinance is working. Just another reminder is that one of the reasons we wanted to do that is because the original survey that the city did on noise concerns had one of the highest levels of citizen engagement of any survey that the city's that put out. So we'd like to gauge that again, just to see where we are, get that broader perspective, one, but also to have an opportunity to look and see if we can't get a couple other pieces of things that we could be thinking about down the road that continue to work on these issues, right? So as we've identified waste hauler concerns, vehicular noise, dealing with decibel level things, like just seeing sort of what's next coming down the pike. So The city is already doing a survey, and if I'm correct, it's more based around equity, but they thought that this could be something that we could dovetail into. And I reached out to Dawa. She's on vacation. She got back today. I have not heard back from her yet, but I'd like to work after having a conversation with Dawa, would like to work on coming up with a list of questions based on the parameters that she gives us in terms of how many questions and time frame and what that looks like that we can put together. So if anybody wants to help on that, please let me know. I'm going to spearhead that. And then the plan would be take the questions to the board here to vote on, get approval on, make changes as need be, and then have it be a part of that survey. So any questions on that? No? Anybody want to help with that? Carmelo, you want to help? Okay, great. Reb, come on. What? You're on it. Yeah. Carmelo, yeah. Dave, did I see you have a hand? Oh, no, I just saw. Do you want to help too, Dave?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I'm just so curious to see how that goes, you know, with let's find out what, you know, what people think are things are going well, what still needs to be improved on, or if there's anything that's changed, something that wasn't, you know, a concern when this survey happened 2.5 years ago, whatever, how long it was to now. So it'll just be, it's just more, you know, we're all about data, right? On this board, we're all about gathering data. So let's gather more data. So, all right, great. Thanks. I'll keep you both in the loop. Any questions or comments on that? No? All right. So we are going to check in with Ashley Stanley to see if we have any callers for public comment.
We do not have any today.
Okay. Wow. Rick and I really thought this meeting was going to go like right up till 3 o'clock today. Okay. Well, if there are no objections, we will adjourn this meeting. Are there any objections? No? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned, and our next meeting will be on August 14th. So we will see everybody then.
All right.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.